All right, looks like I'm on both platforms now. Lord only knows what's going to happen here with either of you. I think I want to. Well, we're getting back on. Are we doing any better? Okay, well, that's cool. I hope it's much better. I don't understand this, but good here now. All right, well, yes, everybody's good now. Okay, I want to talk about an incident in in old school Baptist history that's not a pleasant one. And I'm just kind of trying to decide how I want to tell the story. There was a fella on the eastern shore of Virginia, member of the church. If you have the old signs from the teens, 20s, 30s, you might see the name in it F. S. Fisher. I believe that's right. Selby Fisher's what I always heard him called. He moved to Salisbury, married, and had a family. Preaching among the churches in the Salisbury Association. Was seemingly well received. Well, Selby, like I say, had a family. Well, up around Baltimore. Lived Elder F.A. Chick and his family. He had a daughter. He had at least two daughters that I know of. Bonnie. Bonnie charmed the heart. I don't know. Now I ain't gonna blame her. I'm gonna blame Selby. Selby decided he was unhappy in his marital relations with his wife and family in Salisbury, and he and Bonnie ran off. Of course, he was excluded from, I believe, Salisbury Old School Baptist Church. Whose meeting house was in Salisbury on the corner of Baptist Street and Church Street. And that's where the story ought to end. That's not where it ends. Most of y'all some of y'all may know, but at one time there was a bunch of old school Baptists in the state of Maine. Enough that they had two associations. The Maine Predestinarian Conference and the Maine Old School Baptist Association, if I remember right. One of them had the church at Woburn, Massachusetts in it as well. Yes, friends and neighbors, there was an old school Predestinarian Baptist church in Woburn, Massachusetts. I know it was active through the 40s, probably into the 50s. That's where Bonnie and Selby went, was Maine. Bonnie had relatives up there. That's where Elder Chick was born, in Maine. The churches in Maine had hit a low point. They had always had 2 or 3 elders. Well, let's say it this way, and I think probably right. I can name you 3 right off the top of my head in the late 1800s that left Maine and went to Virginia and places in the South. Can you really blame them? Now here's what I want to get at. Then here's what we have to ponder. There was no elder in Maine at that time. They were coming up from New York, they were coming up from Maryland, they were coming up from Delaware and Pennsylvania and New Jersey to preach to the churches in Maine. But they didn't have, I don't believe either association had an elder within it. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So you know what those brethren in Maine did? Some of them. Excuse me one moment. Yellow. Yes. I told you I would. Okay. Okay, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. Okay, I can do that too. Yeah, it sounds like it. That's all right.
I think I'm down to like 50 miles or something left on it.
All right, well, let me get myself together.
All right.
All right, bye bye. Those brethren in Maine, some of them, called Selby Fisher as pastor. He was excluded from a church with which they'd had fellowship for I don't know how many years. They knew the situation, that he'd deserted his family, married Bonnie chick, and come up there. And they called him anyway. Some of them. It created a really big gash in those Baptists that had once been so numerous. Now they became two small parties. The thing I want us to ponder, and the reason I put it like that, why would they do that? Why would they take up Selby Fisher knowing the situation, that he'd been turned out of the church at Salisbury, he'd deserted his family, and took up with Bonnie Chick? When I first came among the old Baptists, there was one member still left in Maine. There had been three, but two of them moved to Laurel, Delaware, and put their membership in Snow Hill Church. And she talked about Selby a lot. Her mother was on the side that took Selby Fisher in and called him as pastor. I don't understand how you could knowing the situation. Now, it's one thing if somebody lied, but knowing the situation, why they do it. Here's another one. I'm telling this, and I never did find out the whole of it. There was a preacher in California named Tom Jefferson, T.R. Jefferson. He did the same thing, but he changed his name to T.R. Jefferson. I don't know what his real name was. But I know this, when he came back to Texas, Elder E.J. Lambert outed him as being who he was, who had left his wife and went with his secretary, took his secretary to California. And yes, the churches in California, the absolute churches, as far as I know, took up with him. All of them fellowshipped him as T.R. Jefferson. Now, they might have been deceived, but Elder Lambert undeceived them. Why would they take up with him? They had a couple of preachers in California then. It wasn't like he was going to be the only one. Well, brethren, with all the problems that we've had, I hate to do this, but I got to get off here and run to Morgantown. Ponder it. Ponder this. I'm interested in what people would think about why. Now, the only thing I can think of is some of them feel so starved for fellowship, so starved for preaching that they'd take up with anything. And there's a third incident that I would name there in regard to it, but I'm going to pass strictly because of time and the fact that I need to get up the road I've thought about this. When I first found out about Selby Fisher, Bonnie Chick, and all that mess, I mean, I'm just really confused. And more than that, really saddened by the actions of those old school Baptists who would put fellowship, preaching, whatever, ahead of the order of the house of God. Now, like I say, brethren, I'm going to get off here. Unfortunately, I've got to run out. I may try to come back on later. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm going to end this. I'm going to say thank you for your patience. I know some of you don't have much. I don't blame you. I don't have much with myself on instances like this. Lord willing, we'll see you later, if today or Monday. May the Lord bless you.